this week's drive, we tangle a trio of Italians at Monza, drift around a Lotus in England, see Rossi on top in Spain again, and go where mountain goats can only dream about. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with a look at what's making all the difference in Formula One this year: tyres and what goes into them. Closely guarded secret compounds are setting the pace as lap times tumble. What we do know is that a tyre is made up of carbon, Kevlar, steel and cotton, all stretched over 2 steel hoops and laid over with that secret rubber compound. Formula One tyres are unique, handmade items, the product of intense research and testing, and tailor-made for each team or even driver.
When we try to work on the tyre for Formula One, we improve the front to make the car less understeering. We improve the rear to have better traction. We try with the team to have a better confidence from the driver in the rear of the car, because when you enter a curve at 200 and plus kilometers per hour, you better trust the back end of your car.
Grip at the rear of the car, where the engine's 900 horsepower is applied to the track, is vital. As tyres have to match the car they're on, new designs are developed in close conjunction with the team's engineers. Research and development continues throughout the season, matching the development of the car.
They put the tyre on a tyre testing machine, and they capture the properties of that tyre in a mathematical way. Very complicated equations with lots of terms, and we plug that straight into our model. So then if they ring up and say, right, we've got a new tyre, if they send us the data, we can do a run and we can tell them straight away the effect on lap time and the effect on balance and so on and so forth.
The last set of tyres used in the last race will certainly be very different to the tyres which started the year. Power characteristics, braking ability, the track's grip at various temperatures and the driver's style all influence the choice of tyre for a race.
Well, tyre is why you connect to the ground, and more grip you get is better, more stability out of the tyre is better because it means you can go quicker. And you know, the tyres look the same every track you go, but every track you go you have a different compound, different construction, different type of tyre.
The tyre maker's team of technicians are always on hand and help to choose the right tyre. Temperature is a major deciding factor. The rubber compound must make perfect, consistent contact with the road surface, but it's very sensitive to temperature. The rubber is made to work best within a given temperature range, the so-called temperature window.
That varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. Michelin has the advantage that they work very well, between 20 and 45 degrees, sometimes even hotter, depending on the compound we're using on a particular race weekend. That's why we talk of a temperature window, which we wait for in practice, because there's an ideal operating heat, and we can only reach this if the track's at a certain temperature.
Making tyres is an art in itself. The right characteristics for each track at various temperatures. Getting the right one on the car is like trying to predict the future. But you can't change the weather. When it rains, the teams must pick the exact moment to change from dry, grooved tyres to the very different wet, treaded tyres. The tread on the special tyres dispels the water, and that's true of tyres used on the road too. Only tyres with enough tread will give grip, good steering and braking on a wet road. Under acceleration, braking and especially when cornering, the forces the tyres must withstand are extreme. At least in a race, the driver can swap tyres in seconds. Deciding when to change from dry to wet tyres is down to the driver and his engineers. So, the right tyres are needed for safety and winning too. The NASCAR series moved to the Darlington Raceway, a challenging short track that's known by some as too tough to tame.
Let's go racing, men!
It was a clean start for all the cars in the 293-lap, 400-mile-long race.
gets loose going in.
But on lap 10, there was trouble for the number 15 car of Michael Waltrip. The former Daytona 500 winner was clipped and then crashed into the outside wall. Later, Tony Stewart tapped Andy Hillenberg, causing him to spin towards the inside of the track. Former NASCAR champion Jeff Gordon couldn't stop and plowed directly into Hillenberg. On lap 124, a mistake by Ryan Newman's team saw the race leader hit the commitment cone on the pit road. Drivers are supposed to pass inside it to drive to their pit. Officials punished Newman with a one-lap penalty, ending his hope of victory. There were just 18 laps to go in the race when white smoke billowed out from the back end of Kyle Petty's car, a blown engine ruining his chances of a decent haul of points. It brought out the 8th yellow flag caution period of the race. Following another yellow flag, the race was restarted with 4 laps to go. Johnson led the pack with Bobby Labonte immediately behind, and it was a 2-car sprint to the checkered flag. And that sprint was won by Johnson, his 7th career victory in NASCAR, but his first at the difficult Darlington Raceway. It didn't look like Johnson or anyone else had a chance to beat Labonte, as the former champion built a lead of more than half of the straight over Kurt Busch with only 20 laps left in the event. Johnson became the 41st driver to win at this historic egg-shaped track. He beat Labonte out of the pits, then held off a challenge to win. The Alfa Romeo BMW fight picked up where it finished last year. In the first race of this year, brothers Dirk and Jörg Müller jumped from the second row into the lead, chased by Augusto Farfus in an Alfa Romeo. Salvatore Tavano in 11th position was hit by Carl Rosenblatt's BMW, and the safety car was deployed for a lap. Once the race restarted, Dirk, with the red band across his screen, led Farfus and Gabriele Tarquini. Farfus attacked Jörg Müller at the first chicane, and then he and Tarquini both passed the German under braking for Lesmo. Soon, Jörg lost 2 further places to Andy Priaulx and Fabrizio Giovanardi, who overtook the Briton. This made it an Alfa Romeo trio chasing Dirk Müller. By lap 5, the 3 Alfas were in front, with Müller 4th ahead of Priaulx's similar BMW. 20-year-old Brazilian Farfus led in his touring car debut. On lap 6, Giovanardi dived inside Tarquini at the Parabolica. The 2 Alfas clashed and Giovanardi stole 2nd place, with Farfus still in front. Despite intense pressure, last year's F3000 Euro Series winner Farfus managed to stay ahead and in control, just. On the last lap, Tarquini passed Giovanardi, but Farfus beat his teammate by just 0.161 of a second, as Dirk Müller led home his brother. Diefenbacher's Seat was on pole beside Tom Coronel on the reverse grid for the second heat. Coronel made the best start and turned first into the chicane, followed by Diefenbacher and Dirk Müller. In the pack, Alfa's Giovanardi was chasing Andy Priaulx in his BMW. Giovanardi and Tarquini were chasing the leading pack, and when the field arrived at Ascari, they collided. Tarquini on the inside hit Giovanardi and crashed into the barriers. His teammate went off into the gravel but was lucky and rejoined well down the field. On lap 2, Jörg took the lead from Coronel, while Dirk and Diefenbacher fought for 3rd. A lap later, Priaulx passed the Seat driver. On lap 5, Priaulx and Dirk were fighting for 2nd, and on lap 6, Farfus closed in on the pair. All this scrapping helped Jörg create a gap in the lead. On lap 7, Dirk was on Priaulx's tail when Farfus attacked them both. The Alfa and Dirk's BMW clashed at the La Rogia chicane, and the Brazilian moved up to 3rd. In the last 2 laps, Farfus desperately tried to steal 2nd position from Priaulx, but the Briton closed all the gaps and crossed the line 3.2 seconds behind race winner Jörg Müller. With an astonishing debut win and a 3rd, the 20-year-old Farfus is now leading the Drivers' Championship from Jörg Müller. The 2nd of 10 rounds is in Spain. One of the most famous names in motorsport is that of Lotus. Founded by visionary engineer Colin Chapman, the firm has gone from building wonderfully simple and improbably fast small sports cars to Formula One world champions, and back again. Now the company is back building small, light, 2-seater sports cars using bought-in engines. Modified to make the cars, yes, improbably fast. But the cars remained basic, primitive almost. And the world has moved on. Simple is considered crude. So Lotus have introduced two uprated models to take them into new markets. With the introduction of ABS, central locking, air conditioning, carpets and an MP3 player, the new cars will broaden Lotus's appeal in major world markets. The company has pledged to increase production from 3,000 to 6,000 cars a year in 2008. Lotus has pioneered a new approach to engineering. Versatile vehicle architecture allows different models to share high-investment chassis parts, giving quicker production and lower development and manufacturing costs.
Between now and 2008, Lotus Cars will be effectively doubling its production. That's being done through driving into new markets. Key market is this expansion into the USA. Other markets such as Hungary, Russia, Mexico are very much new growth development markets. Therefore, the outlook is one of profitability and growth for Lotus Cars.
The new Lotus Exige is aimed squarely at the sports car enthusiast. This road-legal track car weighs less than 900 kilograms and generates 135 horsepower, reaching 60 miles an hour in 5.3 seconds with a top speed of 129 miles an hour. With the newly civilized interior and uprated creature comforts, the Lotus will find its way into many more hearts and garages. True to Chapman's legacy, the most powerful Elise, the 111R, will handle, ride and accelerate better than ever. Reaching 60 miles an hour in less than 5 seconds, it can comfortably out-accelerate supercars that cost 4 times as much. The Lotus approach is not to produce bland, mass-market cars, but to cater for the demand for quality, hand-built vehicles. With analysts predicting that 20% of the global market will be for niche vehicles, Lotus seems well placed. The new Aprilia RS3 MotoGP racer was unveiled in Genoa by its riders, Jeremy McWilliams and Shane Byrne. McWilliams is recovering from a broken rib injury sustained in Malaysia when he was flung from the bike during testing. The 3-cylinder 990cc 4-stroke bike has already established a reputation as being an aggressive beast. Aprilia finished 4th in the Constructors' Championship with rider Colin Edwards 13th in the Riders' Championship last year. Despite having to bail off once when his bike burst into flames while he was riding at high speed. McWilliams will be 40 years old and the oldest man on the grid when the season starts in South Africa.
Yeah, this is part of the fun. It's one of the reasons for coming back. But yeah, I mean, the reality is that we got to start testing again at the end of the week in Barcelona and then straight to Mugello. And that's all we have before South Africa, so I'm looking forward to testing actually more than anything.
So we start with a new team where Jeremy McWilliams, of course, has a lot of experience. We hope to use that experience together with Marcelino Lucchi, our test rider, to improve all the development from the test team, and together with him to have sufficiently and a lot of feedback for improve the project and also to have ideas to make it better for the future.
You know, it's not going to get any more difficult, so it's all about now me just sort of riding around, having fun, enjoying my riding and learning from the other guys, learning from Jeremy, learning from the team, and, you know, just keep smiling, really. I'm having so much fun, I really couldn't be happier at the moment.
Shane Byrne moves to MotoGP, having won the British Superbike title last year. He was considering World Superbikes until the call came from Aprilia. Reigning MotoGP world champion Valentino Rossi and his Yamaha teammates Carlos Checa, Norick Abe and Marco Melandri were presented in the colours of their new teams in Barcelona. Having won the championship on a Honda for the last 3 years, Rossi has moved to Yamaha this year. Valentino has little to prove in motorcycle racing. He's won each of the 125, 250 and 500 World Championships, only the second man ever to do so, and has dominated the senior class for the last 3 seasons. But the 25-year-old Italian undertakes the biggest challenge of his career, leaving the successful Honda camp for a Yamaha saddle for 2004. Most of his successful team of engineers and technicians have moved across with him. Rossi feels that challenging for the championship may be beyond him in his first season with Yamaha.
Yes, for sure, with my big change, all become more interesting for everybody, especially for me, because we try to make this big hit and big challenge. For sure, will be more difficult, but we have some great emotion and great motivation. For sure, I expect one difficult season, especially at the beginning. I think we are not able to fight for the championship.
Rossi arrives at Yamaha with a perfect track record. In 2001, he became only the second rider in history to lift all 3 Grand Prix titles, winning each in just his second year in the class. Son of Graziano, a celebrated rider of the 1970s, Valentino entered 125 Grand Prix with Aprilia in 1996, winning races in his first season. His natural skill and flair has made him a huge fan's favourite, and at just 25 he's already one of the sport's true legends. Rossi took to the saddle alongside his new teammate, popular Spaniard Carlos Checa, and they provided an impromptu freestyle display on board their 990cc machines, performing spectacular standing wheelies and burnouts ahead of 2 days of official testing at the nearby Barcelona track. There were plenty of smiles back in the media centre, where Valentino was presented with the inaugural MotoGP trophy following his triumph in last season's championship. The new trophy becomes a permanent fixture for winners of the MotoGP series. The main trophy is almost too heavy to lift, so winners will get a smaller replica to add to their personal trophy cabinets. The Ride the World trophy, designed by famous sculptor Lorenzo Quinn, son of actor Anthony, brings MotoGP in line with many other similarly historic and prestigious sports which honour their world champions in the same way. With snow visible on the mountains, the class of 2004 posed for a pre-season portrait. Rain washed out the first day's testing, but the second day was clear but cold, so track temperatures remained cool. The session was halted when 5 riders fell off and a slow corner slippery with oil. Ducati's Capirossi was fastest before crashing. All eyes were on Rossi as he brought his new bike out late in the session. The 2002 World Superbike champion Colin Edwards had taken over at the top of the table when the session restarted. Second fastest was Spain's Ruben Zaus, another Ducati Superbike émigré, with Capirossi third. But with 7 minutes to go, Rossi toppled Edwards from the top spot with former world champion Kenny Roberts third. Edwards, riding a similar coloured Honda to Rossi's Yamaha, responded with another fastest lap with a minute to go. But Rossi was already out on the track again and beat the Texans' time by just 0.082 of a second. Third fastest was Edwards' teammate Spaniard Sete Gibernau, last year's championship runner-up, a further 16 thousandths of a second behind, followed by Capirossi. The Ducati team's dream debut into MotoGP last year, after a decade of dominating world superbikes, ran a good second to Honda and humiliated Yamaha, Suzuki and Kawasaki. Last year, American MotoGP rookie Nicky Hayden was Rossi's teammate and was overshadowed by the world champion. This year, his teammate is Brazilian Alex Barros. Kenny Roberts Jr., world champion son of a world champion father, has endured several miserable years but stayed loyal to Suzuki. Spaniard Ruben Zaus is another MotoGP rookie migrating from superbikes, where his large physique was probably more of a handicap. Carlos Checa now has a yardstick on a Yamaha to measure up against: Valentino Rossi.
Yes, I'm very, very happy because we are at the top also with Yamaha. I need to say a big thank you to, especially to all my mechanics, to Jerry Burgess and all the mechanics come with me in this new adventure, and also to Yamaha make a big effort. We make in 2 months an incredible work, and the bike is not so bad, so I'm happy. For sure, the conditions are quite strange, and nothing is win, but we are competitive.
Setting the fastest time, Rossi won a new BMW Z4. There's a flagship 645Ci on offer at the end of the season for the rider with the lowest total qualifying times. The Motocross Grand Prix of Flanders, opening round of the new season under the revised rules, was held under difficult conditions. The weather was rainy and windy all day long, and the track was changing lap by lap. In the first race for the MX1 class, for 250cc two-strokes and 450cc four-strokes, France's Michael Pichon snatched the whole shot and took the lead. But just as he looked to be easing away from the field, he crashed out, allowing the pack to catch up on him. Fortunately, he only lost a couple of places and was able to continue. Belgian Kevin Strebos then grabbed the lead, but he too crashed out and was forced to retire shortly afterwards with mechanical trouble. That left it a straight fight between Pichon and the Belgian pair of Cédric Malot and Steve Ramon. In the end, it was Ramon who managed to get the victory, with Malot taking second and Pichon third. Race 2 saw a number of the riders involved in a pile-up at the very first bend. One of those was Pichon. He did eventually restart his bike, but his chances of victory had all but gone. New Zealander Joshua Coppins took full advantage to race into an early lead. He was soon joined by Malot, and the pair battled away with each other for the rest of the race. Finally, it was Malot who proved stronger and sneaked ahead to take the win, with Coppins second and Strebos in third. Second place was enough to give Malot the overall victory, with Ramon second and Coppins third. Next round in the championship is the Grand Prix of Spain. The championship puts Malot ahead of Ramon and Coppins, with 7-time world champ Stefan Everts languishing in 4th place and Joel Smets down in 7th. The 2004 World Trials Championship ended up with the final 2 rounds on consecutive evenings in different countries. Dougie Lamkin reached the final, the British rider regaining some of his early season form. But Lamkin, who qualified first with Adam Raga on 4 penalty points, committed surprising errors in the final and finished third with 12 points. Albert Kabastani, who qualified third with 7 penalties, moved above Mark Friescher into 4th place in the world standings with 51 points, after finishing second on the night with 8 penalties. Adam Raga, the newly crowned world indoor champion, was his fluent self in qualifying, and he turned in a masterful performance in the final. Raga, who claimed the indoor crown a week before at his home Grand Prix in Grenada, achieved his 7th championship win and 6th in a row by collecting just 4 penalty points. With only 6 observed sections and 1 twin-lane race, the course in Nice scraped the bare minimum requirement for a world indoor event. 24 hours later, the trials caravan decamped to Riesa in Germany for the 12th and final round. Although Raga had claimed the crown, the minor placings were still to be decided. Montesa HRC riders Lamkin and Fujinami were battling for the championship runner-up place. Lamkin had another fine qualifying round, but disappointed his fans by collecting 19 penalties in the final and finishing 4th. Fujinami was a little more consistent and was awarded 15 points despite falling off, to claim 2nd place in the title race with 71 points, 3 ahead of the Briton. Raga was determined to put on a champion display, but he was outshone by Kabastani. Nonetheless, the champ came second with 8 points and ended the season with 102, 29 ahead of Fujinami. Kabastani went on to record his first win in the season and assured 4th place overall on 61 points, 7 behind Lamkin. With the World Indoor Series at an end, the riders now turn their attention to the 10-round outdoor season. The first event takes place at Bangor in Northern Ireland. So, whether you're making a special tyre, wearing them out, or just sitting out the season, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.